Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we're taking a look at the Tucson TS366. This is a R-I-H-E design. I guess that's Raihi. I'm not sure what it is. But yeah, pretty interesting knife from Tucson. Let's go ahead and get right into this review. Our blade length is coming in here longer than I expected. We're like just a hair short of 3 3/4. Yeah, so full size EDC, definitely. Hopefully by the time you guys are seeing this video, this knife is in the possession of one of you watching. Let's get our size comparisons. There's our Rat 1, our Rat 2. So yeah, pretty similar in overall length to the Rat 1. And yeah, that blade is super shiny. Holy cow. Alrighty, let's get out our Elementum. Here's a Praxis. Yeah, there we go. Let's compare it against our flagship comparisons. Ugh, dropping knives all over the place. Benchmade Bug Out. And the Spyderco PM2. Very nice, very, very nice. Stealing a line from B's Blades. And let's go ahead and compare against some Tucsons. Here is the, I was going to say recently reviewed, but by the time you guys are seeing this, not so recently reviewed, TS338. Yes, okay, 338. And my favorite Tucson, the TS301. There we go. So, what are we looking at in terms of materials for this guy? Well, is a titanium frame lock, titanium clip. We've got these micarta inserts, and the blade is 14C28N. Pretty cool. Running on bearings. Let's get to the cutting. You know, I think my least favorite time to do review cutting is late October, early November, like it is right now, just because of the wind. Like early morning, not a whole lot of wind, a little bit though. So yeah, that makes it hard to film. You know, it's also weird. You guys probably aren't seeing this video until December or January. So, you know, when there's snow on the ground, when I'm filming review cutting in December, you're not going to see that until like April or May. So I feel like there's a little bit of a weird disconnect between like my review cutting and then, you know, like the actual seasons. You know, so you could be sitting at your house in May watching one of my videos and it gets the review cutting and there's snow on the ground. It's like, what the heck? Yeah, I'm sure none of you guys really care. So the knife we're talking about today is a Tucson. It's a tanto. This is the Tucson TS366. I really like that Tucson's been putting the model numbers on their knives. That's fantastic because if they're not going to give them names, they might as well put the numbers on the blade so we can keep track of them. So I appreciate that. Like I said, tanto blade, 14C28N. Love that. Titanium scales with micarta inlays, and it is not crap carta that Tucson is usually known for, so that's good. Yeah, so we'll go over all that stuff at the table, but let's talk about that action. Very smooth, typical Tucson action on the close. The flip Detent is dialed perfectly for that flipper tab. Like, it is hard to miss a flip if you're using the flipper tab. As you can see here, there's a front flipper here, but I, for the life of me, have not been able to front flip this knife. I have about ripped my thumb off trying to front flip this knife. The detent is too strong. The jimping sucks for front flippers. There's not a whole lot to grab onto. Not real great. you also have this hole in the blade, and I can sometimes reverse flick it. Not today, because, ouch, you've got to get nail in there, and right now I don't really have much nail on that finger, just flesh. And so if you're just getting flesh in there, it hurts a little bit. The thumb flick you can do. It's a little easier. But yeah, definitely the flipper tab is the best means to open this knife. It works fantastic. If this was just a flipper, it'd be great. But the fact that they tried to put these other deployment methods on there that really don't work, it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird, but it is what it is. How are the ergonomics? Pretty neutral. Slim knife, you grab it like this. The pocket clip does not bother me because it's wide. It's a mil titanium clip, so it just kind of disappears in the hand. Love to see that. So yeah, ergonomics, nothing really to complain about, but nothing really to praise. It's just very simple, but good. Ergonomics. The jimping, not my favorite jimping, but it's okay. So I'd give it like a C plus jimping. It's all right. Maybe a B minus. Okay, let's talk about the carry. So I already talked about the clip, this square titanium clip. I like the look of the clip. Like, it looks really, really cool. Matches the knife. Got micro milling on there. In the pocket, if I can even put the knife in my pocket. Yeah, I think Tucson's been doing really, really good at making their clips better. I think they've spent a lot of time thinking about their clips because they used to make pretty terrible clips, and now they make okay clips. This clip is fine. I don't really have a problem with that. It's pretty good. As far as mil titanium clips go, it's a good mil titanium pocket clip. This is something I've said before. I'll say it again. A good mil titanium pocket clip is okay, but in my opinion, mil titanium clips are never quite as good as like a stamped steel clip, just in terms of functionality. I like the look, and I guess they're a little more durable, but you know, like a deep carry, like bug out style clip, I think will always be kind of superior to these things. But let's go ahead and do some cutting, shall we? Grabbeth out our cardboard. I already said 14C 28N. Flat grind. Comes down to a decently thin edge, but the blade is pretty darn thick. Still, it slices very, very well. It's a tanto, so you can do your utility cuts if you're not an idiot like me. So, yeah, no complaints there. I was wondering where the pool noodle is. I was like, oh, I put it in my hoodie pocket so it doesn't blow away. Let's do the rope pull. Okay, felt good. I bet it's going to be pretty good on the push. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Interesting. It did not do as well as I was anticipating. Usually tantos are very good at that test. I mean, if I really put some weight into it, it does really good, but with this test, I try to just put, you know, a little bit of pressure. Okay, well. And I will say, actually, when I was pushing down like that right there, I felt a hot spot off this lock bar on my finger. So, that's a little bit weird. All right, now let's do our pool noodle. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, it bit in really good. It sliced pretty well. The thickness of the blade stock did hinder it a little bit in some of these cuts. You can see there we went pretty wonky. But, yeah, it did all right. The sharpening looks okay, except they did sharpen up the plunge grind there. We'll show that off at the table. But, yeah, there's the Tucson TS366, a redesign, R-I-H-E. Not sure how you say that, but that's who designed this. So, cool. All right, let's get back to the table. Okay, I took apart the 366 and lubed it up, everything, cleaned it up, and now it is just stupidly smooth, stupid smooth. And I was able to front flip it when I first took it apart the other day, and I was trying to get it today and I can't get it again. So I thought having the micarta here that's kind of over the frame lock would help keep your fingers off there, but you know, you gotta be really careful. Make sure your fingers aren't on anything. Gosh dang, that hurts. The jimping really just sucks. It should go up and over. That's what everyone says. Let's see if I can do the reverse flick a little bit easier. Yeah, that's nice. Still, a little bit, you know, I gotta use the flesh bit of your finger. The flesh bit. Thumb flick. Really good. The flipping action is absolutely amazing, honestly. If I was keeping this knife, I'd be happy with just the flipper, honestly. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay. I was also able to get it left-handed a couple times. Let's try that. Okay, yeah, I can front flip it lefty. Fudge. Okay. Come on. It really digs into your thumb. Like it really wants a piece of you. Okay, so let's go again. Come on, Gideon. You got it once. A little bit of wrist. You know, I'm not the biggest front flipper fan in the first place. There was a lot of F's right there. But this is probably one of my least favorite front flippers ever. Ah! The other thing too is with my right hand, I found that I was able to get the leverage to flip it, but that the flipper tab would hit my finger and stop it from deploying. So keeping everything off the lock bar. Gosh. The flipper works so good though, but this is just, hey, I did it, woohoo, go me. Let's try that again. Gosh. The action is pretty great, except for that flipper tab and the reverse flick on the hole. Thumb flick on the hole, every time, works great, feels good. Flipper, fantastic. They went for the multiple deployments, but I didn't quite get there. Alrighty, what am I liking and not liking about this knife? So first of all, I think it's a pretty cool design. It kind of looks a little bit samurai-y. It's kind of, I don't know, it's got a pretty cool look. I like it. It kind of reminds me, like I said, of like a katana, but also it reminds me of like an old, like a car from the 70s. It's got kind of the boxy shape. It's pretty cool. I do like the looks of this knife a whole lot. Next thing, love that it's in 14C. For a while there, Tucson was using a lot of D2, but I like to see the 14C. They do a good job with it. So yeah, there we go. The blade itself is pretty nice as well. I really like these tantos that are kind of a mix between the traditional Japanese tanto and the Western tanto. And what I mean by that is we have this defined tip here, but instead of this edge being straight, Like on a, do I have a tanto, an American tanto around here? Somewhere, here, let me grab one. I'll be right back. Alrighty, we're back. So here's like kind of a traditional Western tanto where you have a straight edge and straight edge here. Of course, the Japanese tanto, the most traditional tanto, you have kind of, it's more, swoops up to the tip. This is kind of a mix between the two. We get the secondary edge and then we have kind of a rounded secondary edge up there. I think this is a really good blade shape because we've got plenty of straight for our slicing or our push cuts. We've got an extra tip there for our utility cuts. We have a nice fine pokey tip right there. And in this area being rounded helps with certain types of scraping tasks. It really helps if you have like zip ties on a piece of wood. You can roll onto them to cut them, push down and roll to crunch through them. I think it's a pretty good blade shape. The knife itself comes out to a pretty thin edge. It is a flat grind. We'll get into that more later. But yeah, it's a pretty good usable blade. It is very robust. As you can see there, we are very, very durable out to that tip. So yeah, that'll be good. Next thing, I like the inserts. I always like to have a titanium frame lock match on both sides. And so I like this. Kind of makes this a little bit of a bolster lock, but I like these inlays. They are not the best micarta, but they're a lot better than like Tucson's crap carta. I think Tucson finally found someone who can give them decent micarta, so that's good. I do like this clip. I like how it's all squared off. It matches the overall design of the knife, and it's a good clip. Tucson's really been improving their clips lately. I appreciate that, and I like it. Next thing, the build quality on this is fantastic, and it's super, super simple. We have a pivot screw. We have this screw back here. I took the knife apart, cleaned it up, maintained it, and yeah, it, like a lot of cold steels, cold steels. I meant like a lot of Tucsons, although cold steels are pretty easy to maintain too. Like most Tucsons, taking it apart and putting it back together is so easy. They go back together perfectly. It's really, really nice. So definitely appreciate that. Another thing that I should have mentioned when I was talking about the design aesthetics, but I like how the blade just disappears here. I'm a sucker for blades that like disappear in their handles, and I think that's pretty cool. Let's talk about the action, because it is fantastic, especially after I took this knife apart. Like it kicks and it drops. You'll have probably seen me struggling with certain elements of the action, but we'll not talk about that right now. For now, the flipper tab is placed really well. The jumping on it is pretty good. Flips out really, really nicely. And man, it just drops shut. There is no blade play, no lock rock. Get my fingerprints off of there. It just, yeah, great action. You can't get much better than that, can you? Holy cow. We've got external stop pins here. They're part of the blade. They move in this little channel here. I always like that. I think it looks really good. It helps with the side-to-side stability. So yeah, just very solid. Really, really like that. Lockup is very solid as well. Little early, but not too early. I like that. Pretty good there. The ergonomics on this knife are really good as well. This fits in my hand pretty dang good. I can feel this little spot here a little bit, but not too bad. In certain pushing cuts, I could feel some hot spots in this area. But overall, the ergonomics are not bad. The jimping could probably go out a little bit further. We'll talk about the jimping more later, but it gives a good little bit of traction right here, so not too shabby. Oh, and the hardware is all T8s. Should mention that as well. But yeah, overall, built super solid. Let's talk about the price now. Usually I don't talk about price till the end. About $100. Yeah, that's pretty crazy for what you're getting here. You can see the titanium has micro milling, which looks
fantastic. Really, really nice. The clip has micro milling. You can see how smoothly everything is fit together. Centering is perfect. I think there's a little bit of a shadow that's making it look a little bit off because the blade has the groove in there. It looks off on camera. I look at it off camera, it looks pretty good though. I think the reason it's looking off is because we have these little divots that come down here, and when the knife is closed, the shadows throw it off, but that is weird. But yeah, great build quality overall. All right, let's go ahead and get into what I don't like. First thing, the action is fantastic with a flipper tab, super strong detent. It kind of sucks everywhere else. You can see this is supposed to be a front flipper. We have this little groove here. You can thumb flick it pretty nicely, so that's cool, but the reverse flick is, you can do it. It's a little bit painful, a little bit hard to get your finger in there, but you know, you can do it. The front flipper, however, is nearly impossible. Number one, the jimping is terrible for a front flipper. This needs to be much finer. It needs to go all the way over the top. Second, the detent is just too strong, and even when I try my hardest to keep all my fingers absolutely away from the lock bar, you just can't get enough. It's very hard to do. As you saw, I took a little bit of a video about me fidgeting with the action. I got it a couple of times, but it's super hard. Left-handed is a little bit easier. I've fudged up there, but ouch. Left-handed is a little bit easier, but honestly, I would not consider this a front flipper. It's a pretty crappy front flipper. Just stick with the flipper tab or the thumb flick. You'll be much happier, and those deployment methods work so well. They're so satisfying that I don't really miss the front flipper, but yeah, that's kind of a big oopsie in the design. Next thing, the sharpening's a little bit wonky. Let's look here. You can see from the factory they sharpened up the plunge, which the plunge grind is not the best, but they sharpened up it. Not quite as bad on this side, but they still did. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention that I like is that Tucson's now including the model numbers on the blades instead of just assuming we'll memorize the random series of letters and digits. I like that. But yeah. Nice thing about the blade, it's very fingerprinty. This satin grind here, super fingerprinty. Not the biggest fan of that. I really wish they'd done a stone wash, because as you see here, they've got a stone wash on the top of the blade. I wish they'd just done that everywhere. It is kind of cool that you have all the different, it does kind of look neat. You've got all the different contrasts. But anyways, I wish they just stone washed it. Got a bead blast in here. That might be a potential spot for some rustification. Not a big fan of that. The next thing with the blade is it performs well. Like it was cutting well. The edge is nice and thin. But with this flat grind on this short blade, it's kind of cool that they were able to grind it down from such a thick blade stock to such a nice thin edge. But after a few sharpenings, you're going to start thickening up really quickly. The other thing too is this blade stock, in my opinion, is just too thick. Let's compare that against our VB Conspirator right here. It's just a little bit too thick, especially since you see the Conspirator is much taller. This is not that tall. I don't know why they went with such a thick blade. And there's another problem with that we'll get to here in a little bit. But, in certain cuts that you do notice that thickness. You do notice it. And yeah, it gives you a lot of, a very robust blade. I mean, you could stab this into trees and stuff and not really worry about it. But yeah, I'd rather they had gone a little bit thinner. Looks like the grind is off a little bit up there towards the tip. Again, it's hard to get this blade on camera because of like all the little chamfering and angles they've done on it. But, yeah. Anyways, the next big issue with the blade being that thick is I can actually touch the blade when the knife is closed. I can touch the blade in the back pretty easily. Now, I don't think it's dangerous necessarily. Like, I don't think you're going to cut yourself on this. I've carried this knife. I have not. If I did think it was dangerous, I would not give this knife away, which I am giving this away for my 1,000 subscriber giveaway, which hopefully is already passed by the time you're watching this. But, you know, I can feel the edge. I'm not worried about, like, slipping off the flipper tab and hitting the edge. I don't have the biggest hands, so, you know, anyone with bigger fingers than mine is definitely safe. But I can't. It's easy to, like, reach in there and touch the edge. And what I'm worried about is that if you're carrying this, you know, if you got other stuff in your pocket, you might get things that get in there close to your edge and, like, might ding it up and stuff. And, you know, it's just, you'd rather not feel the edge of the knife, you know, when it's closed. So, yeah, that is one thing. So, that's probably the biggest con. The last thing I'm going to mention is access to the lock bar is, like, it's okay, but I think it could have been a little bit better. I'm not going to complain about it too hard, though, because, like, it works. It definitely works, so it's not too bad. All right, let's go on to my final conclusions. Final conclusions. This is a very cool design with a little bit of a flawed execution. For $100, is this knife worth it? I'm going to say yes. Yes, it is. The titanium frame lock is, you know, something you don't hardly see under $100. 14C 28N blade is cool. If you love the design, you'll like this knife. The build quality is very, very good, as you'd expect from Tucson. The action is insane. My biggest complaints really are just I wish the blade was a little bit thinner. I wish I couldn't feel it back here. And I wish they'd done the sharpening a little bit better. So, oh, and I also wish that they had tuned the action a little bit better. Although, maybe I wish that they just not tried to make this a front flipper, because the action is tuned perfectly for the flipper tab. Like, I cannot fail it. So, like, yeah, that is perfect. But, yeah, I wish they just tried not to make it a front flipper, I guess. Other than that, it's a really cool knife. If you like the design, I'm sure you will love it. And yeah, I definitely think it's pretty cool. I would give, if I had to give this knife a letter grade, I'd give it a B+. So there we go. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I've been Gideon. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.